And let's start seated. I thought we'd work a little bit today on opening shoulders, broadening chest a little bit of back bending is kind of where we'll end up. Nothing too crazy, but we'll work on upper back especially. So let's start seated, finding a comfortable seat, letting the backs of the thighs and the bum feel supported, letting the soles of the feet rest down. And finding that sense of settling in, arriving to practice. Maybe taking a few breaths, just fidgeting your way into a version of stillness. Might feel good to sway back and forth or forward and back, finding your center, letting both sit bones be evenly distributed with weight. And then maybe finding a sense of lift of the spine, of the crown of the head, finding some length all along the spine. And as you start to arrive, as you start to settle in, noticing your breath. As we arrive at this point, I often like to close my eyes, but if that doesn't feel good for you, you can always keep them open as well. Feeling how your body feels this morning. Noticing any areas that are kind of calling your attention or coming up in your awareness. And then starting to find that bit of stillness, noticing your breath. Sometimes it feels nice to bring one hand over heart or hand, chest and belly. And it can give you some tactile feedback as to where your breath is this morning. Sometimes it's more shallow and concentrated more in the chest, and there will be more movement there. And sometimes there will be more movement or expansion in the belly, or even in the ribs. So just noticing where your breath is this morning. Taking a few breaths as we settle in. Noticing the rhythm of your breath, noticing how your body moves as you breathe. Allowing your awareness to rest in this very moment, on this very breath. If the hands are resting on chest and belly, they can come to rest on your thighs, palms up or palms down. Allowing your body to breathe without even the effort of holding your hands up. How would it feel to soften the shoulders down any amount? Maybe finding a sense of reaching the crown of the head up just a little taller. Letting the sit bones feel just a little heavier, backs of the thighs heavily supported. Feet heavily on the floor. Is there any tension in the jaw that could be softened? Maybe in the forehead, is there some concentration there that can be let go? Letting the breath flow smoothly and easily from inhale to exhale and back to inhale. Without moving much, we'll start to move into just the fingertips. So flipping the palms up if they're resting down. And we'll draw thumb towards first finger, just touching the tip of the thumb to the tip of the first finger. Holding that for a breath or two. And switching fingers, tip of the thumb to tip of the middle finger. Resting there for a breath or two. Switching fingers, tip of the ring finger to tip of the thumb. And then tip of the pinky when you're ready to the tip of the thumb. Releasing the fingertips as you're ready. Palms can either stay up or they can come back to facing down on your thighs. And then let's move into the neck a little bit. With an exhale, drawing the chin down towards the chest. And pausing here, breathing into the back of the neck, or imagining that you could breathe into the back of your neck. Maybe the shoulders can melt down even while the chin is tipped. When your next inhale arrives, let's lift the chin, tipping the head up towards the ceiling. Not so high that you're cranking your neck, but a gentle lift. Maybe the gaze lifts. And let's hold here with the gaze lifted. Thinking of keeping the back of the neck quite long, so it's both lengthy and lifted. We're not crunching or cranking. Maybe breathing space into the front of the neck, into the throat. And then we'll start moving with breath. With your next exhale, tipping the chin down towards chest. With your inhale, lifting the gaze, lifting the chin. Moving with the rhythm of your body, moving with your breath. Noticing any sensations as you move, any areas that are a little stickier or would like a little love or attention. And letting the range be your choice as well. Maybe it's a very small movement today, or maybe it's bigger today than it was another day. Knowing that it can go back and forth from day to day. Some days we have more range and some days we have less. And knowing that, being compassionate with yourself. When you feel you've done about both directions evenly, coming back to face forward. Pausing for a moment once you've arrived to notice sensations in the neck, the back of the neck, and the throat. And then we'll start moving in another direction, turning the head from side to side. So keeping the chin really parallel with the floor. And we'll start to turn the head to one side on an exhale. And then slowly coming back to center. Exhaling to the other side as you're ready. Again, following your own rhythm, the rhythm of your body. Moving with breath. The range today might be different from another day as well. Knowing that, having compassion for yourself. Some days we're just a little stiffer. Some days we're a little more flexible. Noticing again areas of stickiness, areas that could use a little more attention, a little more love. Noticing those areas as we move. Once you feel even, both sides, about equally, making your way back to center. Pausing in center as you arrive, noticing any sensations in your neck, in the paws. And then we'll move into some figure eights. So imagining that you're drawing something with your nose, utensil of your choice, color of your choice, texture of your choice. We'll start moving the head as if you were drawing a figure eight in the air with your nose. And this can be a very tiny figure eight or a little larger. Maybe it grows or shrinks as you move. And again, noticing any sensations or even sounds that come up as you move your neck in this way. I've got lots of Rice Krispie sounds, snap, crackle, and pop. When you're ready, switching directions. Drawing your figure eight in the other direction. And then eventually making your way back to center. No rush to get back. But once you arrive, noticing sensations in the neck. Maybe in the base of the skull, maybe into the shoulders a little bit, just seeing what you notice. And now let's move down into the shoulders. So we'll start with our simple shoulder rolls. However that feels good for you. We can just start with hands on the thighs, or maybe hands lift, or fingertips could come to shoulders. What feels right? Switching directions of the shoulder rolls as you're ready. And then releasing the hands back down to your thighs, pausing for a moment, noticing sensations in both shoulders, if there's any difference from one shoulder to the other. Let's move down into the spine, moving our spine in all the different directions. Then we'll come back to shoulders and arms a little bit. So let's start with a twist this morning. So letting the feet be exactly where they are, nice and stable. Feet firmly planted, knees about over the ankles more or less, and letting the sit bones be really nice and firm on the seat. Inhaling to sit up really tall. As you exhale, turning the shoulders towards the right side. So as you turn, your left hand might reach for the right thigh or knee. It might feel good to sweep the right hand back beside your hip or behind you on the chair if it's an open backed chair. If it feels good for the neck, you could turn your head towards the right shoulder, almost as though you could gaze behind you. The neck can also stay in line with the torso. Deciding what feels right for you today and knowing that you can try something and then come out of it. Let it be a bit playful. As you're ready, let's unwind, coming back to center. Noticing any effects of the twist to one side, noticing differences from one side to the other, maybe one side body. And then we'll set up on the other side. Again, with your inhale, finding a nice tall seat. As you exhale, thinking about turning the shoulders towards the left. As you turn, maybe the right hand comes to find the left thigh or knee. Maybe the left hand would feel good to sweep back beside your hip or behind you on the chair. I didn't mention this on the other side, but it might feel good to hold the backrest of the chair if that's part of your setup. As you settle into the twist, if it feels good for the neck, you could turn to gaze in the direction of your left shoulder as if you could look behind you. The neck can also, or head can also be in line with the torso. This side might feel a little different. You might be in a slightly different version, or your head might be in a slightly different position. That's okay. As you're ready, we'll slowly unwind, coming back to center. Giving yourself this pause, coming forward, noticing sensations from that side of the twist. And let's move into a side bend. For our side bend this morning, let's bring hands to hips. And then walk your fingers and thumb up as far towards your ribs as you can. Maybe you're holding your ribs, maybe they reach up towards your armpits, kind of finding a bit of a funny position. A little more opening of the shoulders, maybe reaching the elbows back behind you. Again, we're reaching the crown of the head up before we tip, and then exhaling to one side, maybe over to the left first. You pick. And inhaling back up to center. Exhaling to the other side. Inhaling back to center as you're ready, following your breath, your pattern, and thinking about keeping the opposite sit bone so heavy, as though the sit bone were your anchor and you're reaching away. Maybe one more time each side if it feels okay. And then settling back into center as you're ready. Releasing the hands as you arrive. No rush to get here. Noticing sensations in the side body. Maybe there's something going on in the wrists and fingers from our different position holding the ribs. Noticing what you notice. And we'll come into our cat and cow variation. I'll turn sideways so you can see how I'm moving. So feet again firmly planted. Let's start with hands on the thighs or knees. We'll start with an inhale, bringing the spine nice and tall, a neutral and tall spine. With your exhale, let's push the thighs or knees away as though the belly button could come towards the back of the chair. We're spreading shoulder blades and the chin comes down towards the chest. As you inhale, we're drawing the belly and chest forward, drawing shoulder blades back behind us, and maybe lifting the gaze. Moving with your breath, about 3 rounds. Using the breath to find the shape, arching and rounding the back. When you've done about 3 rounds or had enough, coming back to a neutral spine. Letting the crown of the head lift again. Chin parallel to the floor, spine nice and long. Noticing the effects of our cat and cow variation. And then we'll move into a little bit more of a back bend. We'll kind of spend a little more time in that cow shape. So it might feel good to widen the legs a little bit so that you have space for your torso. We're not doing a full forward fold, but we are coming forward so that the forearms can rest on the thighs. As you arrive and your forearms are resting on the thighs, we're starting to pull the chest through, finding that cow shape where we're pulling the shoulder blades towards each other. The gaze might lift a little bit, probably so that you're looking forward, not up. Or it might even be a few feet in front of you on the floor if that feels better for the neck. So imagining that your heart is shining forward, shoulders and upper arms are pulling back, even while the forearms are supported on the thighs. Breathing here, letting the inhales and exhales flow. Broadening the chest, collarbones are broad, shoulder blades are pulling towards each other. Countering all the sitting and sitting at computers and rounding forward that we do. One more full breath cycle if it feels okay to stay. And then coming all the way back up, finding that neutral position again, tall spine. And as we arrive back in the tall spine, we'll just do a quick counter pose. That will be a gentle twist, even more gentle, and we won't spend much time in the twist this time. Inhaling in center, exhaling to turn the shoulders to the right first, just for a breath. Unwinding to come back to center. Pausing here for a breath. And then coming back, inhale in center, exhale to the left, turning shoulders to the left, staying for a breath. And then coming back to center as you're ready. Beautiful. Let's move back up into the arms a little bit before we move down into the legs. So we're going to move with breath, and it'll be one arm at a time. So with an inhale, let's reach right arm up and overhead. And rather than just reaching for the ceiling, imagine that you are reaching back behind you. So you might feel a bit of stretch along the side body on the right side. Exhaling to bring the hand back down. When your next inhale arrives, we'll do the left side, reaching left arm up and back behind you. So you're stretching this front left side of your body. And exhaling back down as you're ready. So we'll move between those two sides with breath. If there's tension in the shoulder and it doesn't feel good, we can go wide or out to the side. So deciding what feels okay in your shoulder. We'll do about 3 rounds on each side. As you're ready with an inhale, we'll start with the right side, reaching up and back. Exhaling the right hand back down. Inhaling left arm up and back. Exhaling back down. Twice more on each side, moving with your breath. Last one. Once you've completed both sides about 3 times, coming back to center, allowing your hands again to rest on your thighs, finding that tall and neutral spine so that you can scan the body, noticing any sensations that came up. Pausing between this movement and the next, we're going to move into the arms one more time. This time, rather than sweeping the arm up and overhead, we're going to bring the forearm to the, we'll start with both forearms parallel to the floor. And we'll alternately move one elbow back at a time as though we were pulling one shoulder blade towards the middle of the back. So starting with palms facing the floor, forearms parallel, elbows bent. With an inhale, let's reach right elbow back. Exhaling to bring right elbow forward. Inhaling left elbow back. Exhaling to bring it forward. We could stretch the arms out forward too if it gives a little bit more difference. Inhaling right elbow back. Exhaling to reach right arm forward. Inhaling left elbow back. Exhaling to reach forward. One more time on each side, moving with your breath. As you've done both sides about 3 times, releasing the hands back to the left. Let's let the arms and shoulders rest for a little bit. We'll move down into the thighs. So shifting weight forward, letting the sit bones be supported but closer to the edge of the chair. A little more space for us to move. Maybe holding the edges of the chair if there's somewhere there that you can hold on to for support. Let's widen the feet a little bit. And then we'll sweep the knees from side to side. Like windshield wipers. Moving as slow or quick and making the movement as big or small as feels good in your body. When both sides feel that you've done them about evenly, coming back to center, replacing feet back on the floor. Let's move into moving the right leg. So we'll hold underneath the thigh or around the shin or knee. We'll just do 2 big hip circles in each direction. Then once you've done 2 circles in each direction, bringing the knee back to sort of center, more or less, and we'll move into the ankle, finding some ankle circles on the right side. Switching directions as you're ready. And pointing and flexing the foot a few times. Pointing the toes towards the floor and then pulling them up towards the shin. And then we'll release right leg back down. Pause for a moment, noticing sensations in the whole right leg and foot compared to the left. And then moving to the left, holding underneath the thigh or around the shin or knee. 2 big circles in each direction. They could be smaller circles, but exploring your range. Then when you've done 2 circles in each direction, bringing your knee back towards the center, more or less, our starting position. And we'll find some ankle circles in the foot. Left side. And switching the directions of the ankle circles, moving the other way. And let's point and flex the foot a few times, pointing toes towards the floor and then pulling them up towards the shin. And then releasing the foot back to the floor. We need to do our sun salutations. I was going to bring us right up to seating, to standing rather. Nope. 3 more sun salutations. Let's warm up a little bit. So finding the perfect distance of your knees and feet, whether that's hip width distance or a little wider, allowing for the idea of coming forward. So whether it feels good to have compression between belly and thighs, or if you'd like a little more space for the torso to come through a little bit. Finding your position. Deciding on your arm variation. Will we be sweeping arms up and overhead? Will the arms come wide? Would it feel good to find cactus arms? Or would it feel good to sweep the arms down and low? Deciding where your arms are headed. As you're ready with an inhale, let's sweep arms wherever they're headed. Exhaling to bring hands back to thighs. Inhaling to bring the chest forward, cow pose. Exhaling to round the back like a Halloween cat, belly towards the chair. Inhaling up, back into a neutral spine. Exhaling to fold forward. Hands or forearms might come to knees, fingertips might trace the shins, or the hands might come to the floor. Inhaling to sweep right arm up into a twist. Exhaling the right arm back down. Inhaling left arm up into a twist. Exhaling left arm down. Inhaling both arms, sweeping the arms wherever they're headed, bringing you back to a tall seat. And exhaling hands to thighs. Pausing for an in-between breath. Noticing any sensations in the body from our first sun salutation of the day. Setting an intention for where your arms are headed for the second round. As you're ready, inhaling to sweep arms wherever they're headed. Exhaling to bring arms back. Inhaling to draw the chest forward, cow pose. Exhaling to round the spine, Halloween cat shape, shoulder blades draw apart. Inhaling back to a tall seat, neutral spine. Exhaling to fold forward, forearms to thighs, maybe fingertips trace the shins or the hands might come to the floor. Inhaling to sweep right arm up into a twist. Exhaling, right arm back down. Inhaling, left arm sweeps up into a twist. Exhaling, left arm comes back down. Inhaling, both arms sweep wherever they're headed, wherever you've chosen, coming back to a tall seat. And exhaling, hands back to thighs. Taking the in-between breath. Setting your intention for the next round. Last one, where are your arms headed this time around? As you're ready, let's sweep arms wherever they're headed. Inhaling. Exhaling, hands back to thighs. Inhaling to draw the chest forward, cow pose. Exhaling to round the spine, cat pose. Inhaling back to a tall and neutral spine. Exhaling to fold forward, forearms to thighs, fingertips to shins, or maybe the hands come to the floor. Inhaling, right arm sweeps up into a twist. Exhaling, right arm comes back down. Inhale, left arm sweeps up into a twist. Exhaling, left arm back down. Inhale brings us back to our tall seat. Arms sweep wherever they're headed. And exhaling, hands back to thighs. Pausing for a moment. Noticing how the sun salutations felt in your body. And we'll come to standing as you're ready. We'll come up through chair. So bringing the feet back towards a more or less hip width distance. And we'll move the heels in towards the chair any amount. Then bringing hands either into prayer position or to hips. And we'll start to shift the weight into the heels, lifting the bum off the chair just enough that we can hover. Remembering to breathe. One more breath if it feels okay to stay. And coming all the way to standing. Beautiful. Nicely done, everyone. Let's come to face the backrest of the chair. We'll keep moving into a little bit of stretching into the front body. And this time we'll use the legs as well. So starting with facing the backrest of the chair, letting the left hand be supported by the chair. Let's actually start with both hands on the back of the chair. And we'll reach the right toes back so that just the tip of the toe might come to the floor. Or reaching back behind you any amount. So part of the caution when we start to move a leg back is that we tend to crunch the low back. So while you're reaching your leg back, think about sending the tailbone down towards the floor. We're aiming to find a little bit of stretch in the front of the hip and not to feel in the low back. So if that means that the foot comes a little bit closer towards the body rather than reaching further away, that's okay too. Let's find the front of the hip. Sometimes it can also help in this position to think about drawing the low front ribs and the hip bones towards each other, finding a bit of containment in the belly. Let's bring the right foot back, standing on both feet. And we'll do the same thing, stepping the left foot back, coming so that the toes are reaching away. And seeing how this side feels. Is it any easier or harder to find the front of the hip stretch? Do you feel it in your low back? Thinking about sending the tailbone down towards the floor. Maybe finding that bit of containment in the belly, imagining that the front ribs and front hip bones were pulling towards each other a little bit. Remembering to breathe. And then let's bring left foot back, standing on both feet once more. Maybe finding a little wiggle if you've got any tension starting. All right, coming back to the right foot. Again, let's step the right foot or reach the right foot back. Keeping in mind, we want to keep tension out of the low back, lots of space here. So tailbone, you might think about reaching towards the floor. We might think about pulling hip bones and low ribs towards each other. And then from here, how would it feel to reach the right arm up and back like we did in the chair? Stretching into the front side of the right body. Staying for a couple of breaths if it feels okay to stay. Reaching the toes, reaching the hands, but not crunching into the low back, keeping the space there. And then releasing hand, releasing foot, coming back to standing on both legs. Finding any wiggling if that feels warranted. And then we'll move into the left side. We'll start with the left foot, stepping or reaching back. Finding the space in the low back, maybe tailbone reaches towards the floor, maybe finding that containment between hip bones and low ribs. And then how would it feel to reach left arm up and reaching back, stretching into the whole front, the left side of the body. Staying here for about 2 more breath cycles if it feels okay to stay. And releasing the hand back to the chair. Releasing the foot back to the floor. Finding any wiggling that would feel good. And let's find our chair version of a down dog as a counter pose. So letting the hands or wrists rest on the backrest, walking the feet back. The feet can be as wide as a yoga mat, maybe a little wider. Letting the knees be bent if that feels good, and imagining reaching the tailbone in one direction, the crown of the head in the other, finding lots of length in the spine. It might feel good to sway a little bit from one leg to the other. Or it might feel better just to find some stillness. And slowly, as you're ready, walking back towards the chair. Coming back to standing. Let's try our front body stretch one more time. So this time, option to keep the foot lifted rather than rested on the floor. We'll see how it goes. We can be playful, letting it be not too serious. So let's start by reaching right foot back. Again, setting ourselves up. Lots of room in the low back, tailbone reaching towards the floor so that the stretch is on the front of the hip and not crunched in the low back. How would it feel to lift that foot? Any amount. Maybe it just hovers over the floor, maybe it bounces a little bit. And then from here, if it would feel good, we could reach right arm up and back as well. Letting the toe hover or bounce, or maybe it rests slightly on the floor. Finding maybe 1 or 2 more cycles of breath if it feels okay to stay. And then releasing the arm, releasing the leg back to the floor as you're ready. Finding any wiggling that would feel good. Last side. Let's step the left foot back, maybe coming onto the toes. Finding lots of length in the low back. Tailbone reaching towards the ground. Maybe that toe hovers or rests slightly or bounces a little bit. And then from here, how would it feel to reach left arm up and back? Maybe 1 or 2 more breath cycles if it feels okay to stay, knowing you can come out at any point. Honoring what your body needs. And releasing arm, releasing leg. Finding any counter pose that would feel good. Maybe finding 1 more down dog if you're standing. Finding some length again in the low back. Knees could be bent. From a seated position in a chair, it might feel good just to lean forward over the knees, maybe supporting yourself on your thighs. Letting the head be a little bit soft, letting the neck allow for a little softness, letting the head be a bit heavy. If you're standing and in down dog on the chair, let's start to walk back towards the chair. Coming back to standing. And we'll make our way back to seated. Let's finish with a little bit of a forward fold. So deciding what would feel best in your body. It might feel good to keep the knees close together. So you'll get a little bit of compression between belly and thighs. It might feel better to have a little more space so that your torso has space to come through. Again, folding forward options for depth. We could either bring forearms to thighs, and this might be enough, and then letting your head soften down a little bit. It might feel better to reach further down your legs, maybe fingertips come down the shins. And from here, letting the head be a little bit heavy. Or it might feel good to let fingertips brush the ground. And from here, letting the head be heavy. So choosing your variation, what works for you today, and breathing. Coming back to your awareness of your body as it breathes. One more full breath cycle if it feels okay to stay in the fold. And then slowly rolling your way up to seated. Coming back to your neutral spine, maybe letting your hands help you. Bringing the knees back to a neutral and comfortable position. And now that we're back in our tall seat, again, coming back to your breath. Maybe closing your eyes if that feels good, or letting the gaze be soft if you'd rather keep your eyes open. Sort of letting the vision be a bit unfocused. Noticing the crown of your head. Noticing your forehead. Your ears. Your nose. Your mouth and jaw and tongue. Noticing your neck, the throat and back of the neck. Noticing shoulders, upper arms and elbows, forearms, wrists, backs of the hands, palms, and each of your fingers. Noticing the chest and upper back, the whole rib cage, front, sides, and back ribs. Noticing abdomen, belly, mid-back, and low back. Pelvis, thighs, fronts and backs. Noticing knees, shins, calves, ankles, tops of the feet, soles of the feet, and toes. Letting your whole body breathe. If eyes are closed, you could slowly start to flutter them open. Maybe bringing hands over your heart or in Anjali Mudra or prayer position if that's in your practice. The hands can also stay resting wherever they're comfortable. With gratitude to yourselves, first of all, sending yourself some love, thanking yourself for making the time to move and breathe in community. With gratitude to each of you for letting me guide you through this practice this morning. And with gratitude to all the students and teachers who've come before us. Peace. Thank you, all of you. Stop the recording here.